Hello to you, our first listeners. Thanks for joining us live, and welcome to the first broadcast segment of Case in Point, coming to you live on the Telegram platform of Habitat Studio. I am Oluwafunsho Oloja. Hope you all are having a great weekend. Our topic for today is weird theft, and doing so with me are two lovely ladies. Intelligent they are. On one hand, I have Shalewa Williams, and on the other hand, I have Nimat, our lesson lawyer. So, the next voice you hear is that of Shalewa. At the moment, Nimat is not here, but we should get to hear her shortly. So, Shalewa, are you there? Hello, Shalewa.
Yes. Hi,
Oh.
Fonsha. Hello, everyone.
Good to hear you and good to have you on.
Thank
At
you
the
for
moment,
having me.
you're welcome. At the moment, Nimat is not here, but I believe she'll join us before the whole program gets to where it should be.
Yes.
So, for us today, first of all, before I proceed, Shalewa, tell us, how is your weekend going?
My weekend is going really well. It's been a busy one, but I guess that's how weekends are these days. You end
Well.
up doing a lot of the work you didn't get to do during the course of the week. But I'm happy to be here.
Like, I'm really happy to
This
hear
this
that.
performance, exactly. This platform will help, unwind a bit for the weekend.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you can say that
how's your
again.
weekend going, Fonsha?
Well, my weekend is quite, I'd say busy, yet relaxed. I've been so excited for this to start, and I just can't wait to dive in, sincerely. So, honestly, let's just wait and see what the weird theft will look like. If people will find it weird, like I did. So, people, you said,
See, I'm in a meeting now.
oh, Nimat. Hello, Nimat. I thought Nimat had joined us. So let's get to it, Shalewa. Before we start, I need to explain what weird theft is all about. There was a report I read somewhere, and it happened some time ago, sometime in 2019. But you're going to find it weird, like I did. It went this way.
Come and say
It was reported by Vanguard in 2019 that a 20-year-old, that a 20-year-old, I beg your pardon, that a 40-year-old hotel cleaner in Las Vegas hotel had won a child support case against a 28-year-old millionaire. Many of you will feel like, where is the weird thing about that incident, right? This is where it gets interesting. The guy never met with a lady to perform any activity that would have led to that, not for sex, nor surrogacy. 4 years earlier, she had gone to perform her duty as a housekeeper, but while at it, she stumbled on his bank statement, and it read millions, as in millions. Not just millions of naira, it wasn't even in naira at all, it was millions of dollars. She went through his garbage, cited his used condom, and remembered at that point that she really wanted to have a baby. And it would be a very good idea to have it with this rich man. Are you feeling the weird now? It can be somehow. Well, in case you're not, the story continues. Okay. She inseminated herself with the young man's semen, became pregnant, sued him to court for child support, and the young man was made to pay $2 million for not seeing the child for about 3 years. The woman afterwards quitted her job as a cleaner and started a few businesses. So, Nimat, What do you think of this story when you heard it? I beg your pardon, Shaliwa. What did you think of the story when you heard it? Hello? Well, while we're waiting, people, I'm sure you are as gobsmacked like I am. Because when I first read the story, sincerely, I wondered, what happened? I mean, how did she get to win the case against the guy? The guy didn't approach her, did he? So what really happened? How come she won the amount of $2 million? But hey, remember they have to go to the court. And what evidences were presented? But let's just see it from the surface, because we are not lawyers. We're only taking a look at the case. It has happened a long time ago, not too long, just 2019. However, it's something worth bringing to fore here. So, Shaliwa, are you there? Hello, Shaliwa. Well, people, you can go to the comment section of this channel and leave your comment concerning the topic. Let us know what you think. I mean, while we wait for our guests to join us. Well, like I was saying, it's weird. For me, it is weird. That is not something anyone would want to even joke with at all. How would you respond to the situation if it were you? If you had been faced with such unforeseen contingency, like someone just comes to your door, knocks on it and says, hey, you have a baby and you have a court case. How would you feel? How would you react? It's important.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Shaliwa is back and she's joined. So
I
Shaliwa,
hear
what's
you
your
the
thought?
whole time. I'm sure there was some issues with the connection.
It could be the network. No problem.
Yes.
So tell us,
so
what do you think about the whole thing?
I thought that was one of the most bizarre stories I've ever read. And also one of the most implicating stories, because it really just goes to show how far, would I say, the range of law. You know, a lot of times we think that people have to have committed an offense for them to be charged or sued or, you know, brought to book. However, everything that you do, every action you take can be used against you, even when you are indirectly involved.
Even when you're not aware.
Exactly, even when you're not aware. And I'm sure that was the farthest thing on his mind. It would have seemed like a nightmare because there was no physical interaction and
at all.
Exactly, and you are in front of the judge in court, and for her to even win the case, that means that there were grounds for what would I call it? Grounds for the case. And it also goes to show how robust some of all these laws are in the developed world regarding paternity, child protection, and all of that. But the lady was able to present that this child had been neglected by his biological father.
But Shaliwa, let me permit me to interject. Now, let's assume someone, you get a knock on your door and the person that knocks presents you a subpoena of the court or a letter from the court stating that you have been invited because your husband, has a child outside of the marriage and something like that. Let's just assume a plainer scenario. What do you think about what would you have done the moment you saw it? I mean, in that situation.
That is a very good question, because this is also joined to the fact that it can put a hole in the man's relationship or marriage with his partner, and then also destroy the trust that they built. How do you start explaining to your partner exactly what transpired? Um,
Honestly,
no one even knows if the wife was aware of his, I don't know if it was a fling or the relationship that he had. So
mm,
it's really a lot of uncovering and digging. And
honestly,
to be honest, he would be just as surprised as any other person who told the story, like a partner, for instance, somebody coming to knock at the door. Um, so I don't know if I would say he's a victim of circumstance,
mm.
but yeah, it's quite
But
a bizarre one.
but being the judge, I mean, the situation is quite difficult because the young man didn't say that he wanted a child with anyone. If he had wanted a surrogate, he would have actually reached out to someone to say, "Oh, I'm nothing of sort." He didn't employ her. He didn't employ her service. He didn't have anything to do with her at all. Not even a word pertaining to the incident. And how come she was favored? I mean, it still leaves me in the dark. Like, I would really need a lawyer to say, "Oh, this is what's going on." So, you listeners
Exactly.
listening to us, pardon me, Shalwa, those of you listening to us on this case, how would you respond? I mean, if someone comes to your door and presents you a court document that you have to appear because you have a child that you never knew exist, and oh, come on, it's hilarious. Shalwa, you can continue. Hello, Shalwa.
I was also going to talk about the breach in privacy.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we don't have a lawyer to dissect this, but I would also think there's a breach in privacy of
Yeah.
the individual. First of all, he was a guest at the hotel,
Yes,
and
it was.
everyone knows that human beings are entitled to their privacy. A hotel is a
Definitely.
private space where people
Yeah.
want to unwind and do whatever it is, and as long as they're not breaking any law, they have a right
Yes.
to.
Yes.
Also, it also raises question on the kind of, even though it was stated in the article that she no longer works there, the kind
Yeah.
of staff at the hotel and the kind of trainings they give them.
To
Because
get that. Hmm. Very true.
yes, cleaners have access to people's spaces and rooms, to clean,
Yeah.
and basically they're supposed to go about their business cleaning the room and not having to
Yeah.
snoop around anything there. So it raises the question of, what exactly do these cleaners do aside
Hmm.
cleaning the room? I
Hmm.
mean, this was a case taken too far because she actually went through his documents and had to take an action that she thought would be beneficial to her. But for other
Sincerely.
people, just snooping around, looking at documents, going
Yeah.
through people's private property,
Yeah.
is really something that is scary to me, or would be scary to potential customers
Very true.
of that
Very
particular
true.
hotel. So I also
Very true.
sense a breach in privacy, and I'm not sure how his lawyer fared in the courts.
I
And the
mean,
article also states that they are hoping to what was the maybe counter sue. But I'm just
yeah.
wondering if that was a major issue he was able to raise, and the judge could see reason with him on that.
Honestly, I'm still alarmed. I'm still amazed. I'm still wondering how the situation, escalated to that point. Like, how did it get there? You went in through someone's garbage, a garbage you were meant to collect. You didn't collect the garbage. You took his semen. But my God, that's really really scary. So, but let's take a look at it from the point of, we're just, playing, not we're just trying to play all sides. Now, if you happen to been the judge, what would you have done? I mean, upon hearing that case, just hearing it for the first time, because it's going to be something alien. It's not something you hear on a regular. More like it came from out of space, and the whole incident went all too quickly. So what would you have done if you happened to be the judge?
Well, I'm sure judges hear quite a number of alien cases on a regular basis. But as a judge, I think the first thing that would have struck me is how desperate humans can really get.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that would have struck me, because there was, like I said, there was no physical interaction. There wasn't even a form of, would I say, proposal from him to say, okay, they already had the thing going, and she decided to take it further. For all he
Man.
knew, she never existed. And so the first thing that would have struck me is how desperate could you have gotten? And I think I would also want to know this lady's track record. Has she gotten into any other criminal I see this as a criminal offense. I'm not a lawyer, but just at the back of my mind, if I had to be a judge, as it were, I see it as a criminal offense. What other things has she gotten into? I would also want to hear from her co-workers, people she works with. What kind of things does she do? If I were a co-worker, I know you asked if I was a job, but if I was a co-worker, I would be a little, unsettled about the other things that worry about her, the other things that she could do to you. So yeah, I mean, as a judge, obviously a judge is supposed to be unbiased, so he would work with the evidence presented before him and how well people are able to prove their cases. But I think just that act of desperation would stand out to me.
Honestly, I wish we could just, get to hear how the whole story went, because it's been a long time. And at the time, that child was just 4 years old. That was when they went to court, and she won that case of $2 million. The moment I read it that she won $2 million, man, she cashed out on a scam. That's what I felt. She cashed out on a huge scam. But let's come to this. Do you think something like that can ever happen here in Nigeria? Let's just play an advocate there, not the devil this time.
Not at all. Not even in our wildest dreams. Because the first thing that hit me was, this is so far-fetched. And in Nigeria, people are still struggling to get their partners pay for child support, as it were, or support, the children that they had together. It's proven biologically, no one is disputing any paternity. And you still have people who are not living up to their responsibilities. The law still can't bring them to book on a legal responsibility that they're supposed to adhere to. So, I mean, if you ask me a question about being a judge, I'm sure if you were a Nigerian judge, no offense to Nigerian lawyers, he would just definitely throw the case out. So you'll be so pissed. Throw it out, because he has far more important things to attend to than someone, being so desperate about the situation. I also think that this case may have gone this way because the victim, I use the word victim now, involved is a wealthy person. It's just a case of how exactly like maybe the Robin Hood story, having to take from the rich to give to the poor. So maybe it just seemed like he could take care of his business, even if at the end of the day he didn't want to have anything to do with his child. It wouldn't really be a dip in his pocket if he had to provide for the child. So like I said, I think he was just a victim of circumstance because of his background, his finances, and all of that.
But before we go on, let's quickly, if you're listening now, kindly go to the comment section. If you have something you want to share with us, let us know, signify, then we can have you share your own opinion concerning this whole story. So, Shaliwa, I was about to say that, she got $2 million. And like you said, some persons wouldn't have, what would have happened if he had been a poor person? Definitely, I don't think that case will fly. But she cashed out big time, and that is crazy. She cashed out big time. So do you think it was fair that the $2 million for for not seeing that child in a period of 3 to 4 years. Do you think it was logical that it was given to her instead of maybe kept in let's say a safe bank or something for the child's education and things like that? What do you think?
I thought that was very logical because it wasn't a case where he was aware he had a child with someone and he neglected his responsibilities. You just raised the question on it being saved up, in form of maybe a trust fund or for educational purposes. I think that would be a wiser thing, because it would just seem as though she literally cashed out for the benefit of herself, and she could always go back to him to get more money from him, knowing that it's just like a well that she could always pull from a source. But I saw a comment in the comment section, and Nusa has stated something saying that if she can prove he's the father through DNA, then there's no case. He wasn't careful enough to dispose it. Actually, in the article, he is the father. The DNA test was conducted.
The DNA showed that. Yeah, the DNA showed that.
He's the father. That also goes, but that raises, I like the fact that he said he wasn't careful enough to dispose it. There are many things that people do. After reading this story, I'm sure a lot of people will be more careful about how they dispose of personal property. In this part of the world, we always think of disposing things discreetly, like things that have to do with personal fluid, body fluids, for spiritual reasons. But this is even a spiritual reason now. It's also for a legal reason.
Exactly.
For preventing a legal case in the future, foreseeable legal case. So I think it's just an eye-opener to how far people would go and how careful you need to be. Even about his documents, that's another thing. So don't forget that she was also snooping around and she saw his bank account statement.
You're right.
You can't be too careless about how you keep your stuff. Even in a hotel that you're supposed to have private access to. So I think it's just an eye-opener.
You're very correct, because I was looking at it, because in any criminal case, there's always a particular order they consider. One is, does a person have a motive? And there she had the motive. The motive was she saw the bank statement, and the motive was to make sure that she had a baby with him, a life insurance for herself. Then, which I don't know. Would you say it's selfish, or she only did it maybe to kind of escape poverty? Then kindly hold that thought while I finish up with the listing. First, you need a means. Another is first you need a motive. The second one is you need a means. She had the means. She was a housekeeper. She gained access into his private space and was able to get access to his private document. And finally, after the motive, means, and the next will be opportunity. The opportunity presented itself, and my God, she utilized it. Only that it's turned out in a negative way. So, would you kindly respond to that question I just asked now?
The question?
Yeah, I said, now that she gained the means. We were talking about the what's it called? Him leaving his document indiscriminately, and now he's in a dilemma. Now, this whole thing has become, a whole lot of. I wouldn't say positive. Would you say that she acted selfishly, or it's like maybe in the interest of the little child?
Well, I don't think anything was in the interest of that little child, if we're being real, because everything was about her. In fact, she said she needed to have a child at the time. She was desperate. So it was about her interests, her motives. Everything was really on her. But I think at the end of the day, for not being hypocritical, a lot of us are selfish. It's me first. You think about yourself in many instances or many situations, circumstances. You want to save yourself first. So I wouldn't say she was selfish, even though it was a selfish act, but I thought she just took advantage of an opportunity. I would think that she's an opportunist. She's
Yeah.
someone who would. That's why I raised the question on being wary of her if I were a co-worker. Co-worker, that means she would always look for a way to satisfy or gratify herself, even
No,
if it meant another person paying the price for it.
you're right.
So yeah, I just think she's somebody who maybe has been a victim of circumstance herself, has been dealt the wrong cards, wrong hands in life, and she just thought to take advantage of
Escape
any.
through that channel.
Yes,
But
exactly.
do you think that the company, that's the hotel now, do you think they have a case against her? Don't you think they could have sued her, or the guy could have actually sued the hotel itself for
You know,
for motives?
exactly. So I'm not sure who this guy's lawyer is, because I mean he's a wealthy guy, so he's supposed to be able to afford the best of the best. I'm not sure the
Yeah.
case he presented, but I want to assume that she has she has won this side of the case, and he would go on to sue the necessary parties involved. The first thing that will come to mind is the hotel. Like I said, it's a breach of privacy. I'm supposed to have my private space when I come into your hotel. That's I paid for my services, and
Yes.
now I'm in this mess because of something that you couldn't handle.
True.
So yes, I would think that the lawyer is drawing up a better case to come
A
back with, and
rejoinder.
then sue. Exactly,
Yeah.
rejoinder. Yes, but I think people could join in.
If they now
I
happen
think
to
some
go
comments.
for,
Yes.
yes. You want to say something now?
No, I was just saying that I think a couple of people are listening, and I don't know
Yeah.
if they wanted to contribute, so that
Yeah,
it wouldn't
they
just be
should, they
the
should
two of
just
us.
signify and let us know whoever wants to contribute. I mean, it would be interesting to get other person's perspective. This time it's something that concerns men and the women. Because as a man, if it had happened to you, how would you have responded? As a woman, if you heard that it happened to maybe your brother or your sibling or reacted, we'd like to know. So please, while on the side of Nimat on this case, because it's really hilarious. But people, kindly signify if you want to be a part of this this whole discussion. We'd like to hear from you. It's important that you share. So for me, I don't know. I just and whoever you just mentioned it to, they just say it's not possible. Like, how come she won? How come she was able to win child support, $2 million? I just felt that money shouldn't have gone to her. That's just it. It should have just been kept in the trust fund, not given to her at all. Not for after that and stuff. With the money she made from a criminal activity. Now, Shaliwa, do you think, based on the fact of the situation like it happened, do you think it could also become an avenue for the ladies and hotel keepers to, also escape poverty?
Yeah, in fact, that last line you just said reminds me of a particular joke that we have in around that we say poverty alleviation program. A lot of people see potential partners, or marriage as a poverty alleviation program scheme, or a relationship as a poverty alleviation program scheme. And I don't know if it has been successfully pulled off like this, but I think I've read or remember cases of a lot of these superstars, athletes being a target to many women. Many women will want to have babies by them because of the benefits. So, a lot of times there are cases we read about where
Yeah.
Somebody who, a footballer, for instance, claims that he's never seen before, is claiming
Yeah.
that she was sexually harassed by this person. And a lot of
Um,
times,
yeah.
the cases make the media rounds. There's this media trial, even when the cases are dropped. But sometimes, there's a thin line between uh, when the story is true, the believability of the story, and then
Yeah.
someone just wanting to cash off or cash out of
Yeah.
these players. So I guess it just comes with what I say in this case, an occupational hazard. It comes with being
Hmm.
successful. A lot of people want to try and rip you off. For females, obviously, because they can afford to get pregnant, then that's their goal. Um,
Hmm.
but for men as well, you have people who would want to defraud you, cheat you in some way. Everyone just wants to be a part of your success, even if it were through an illegal route. So
Very, 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 very aptly put. Very, very aptly put. I'm now trying to um, look at it. Let's take a look at it from the part of the child, the mental effect it will have on that child growing up and hearing the story of his coming to be. What do you think the child would make of the whole thing? I mean, mom tells that, oh, we never met. In fact, it was a court that pronounced you that you must be my child. I mean, it's so ugly. How do you think that child would respond? Because definitely that child would see these stories on the internet, and a whole lot of his colleagues or even his peers would, taunt him with these kinds of slurs. What do you think of the whole impact it will have?
it would definitely be devastating for the child, and which raises the question on a lot of things that we do as individuals. We make a lot of selfish decisions, not bearing in mind that you're bringing someone else into the picture. It's the same way you have very many dysfunctional families where parents have sworn that they'll never see each other again, and there's a very nasty breakup. But they
Yeah.
don't realize that there's a need for a child to have both parents in the child's life, regardless of you people's differences. So you're supposed to be able to set aside your differences and
Yeah.
do the needful for the child. So that would, speaking about her selfish nature, she obviously didn't think in that light, and she just wanted to do what she thought would beneficial to her. And then how do you even expect the father of this child to love the child when the child
That
wasn't born out of love? So I
that is
mean,
actually
the circumstances under which he came to being are very ugly.
very,
So
very
if anything, he would have to just fulfill his legal obligation by
obligation.
providing, on what the law or the court has ruled. But there won't be any emotional attachment. There will forever be a resentment toward that child because he didn't want the child to be. And that's a very ugly space to grow up in, just knowing that you weren't wanted and you
Yeah.
were. So I don't think she thought it through.
I don't think
But
so. I don't
yeah, I
think
mean, she
so.
made the decision based on what she thought was the right thing for her, but it's going to have an impact on the child. And
Definitely.
in the day of the internet, when the internet age where anyone can read up on anything,
True.
bullying is also at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Cyberbullying. A lot of
Yeah.
children are depressed in school. They have suicidal tendencies because of what people say to them. So really, I hope she doesn't lose what she thought she gained in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. Because hearing that kind of story alone, I mean, if I was a child, I wouldn't feel comfortable even hearing it. That kind of story can lead that child to commit suicide if he's not mentally balanced, if he's not mentally prepared for what is to come. And I'm just thinking about it now that the money given to her could have been channeled in the direction of maybe preparing the child for the future. One, in terms of education. Two, in terms of meeting up with psychologists to help him prepare him for the news he would hear later, because he definitely will hear the news eventually. So where does it where does it stop? Where will it lead? It's something we may never ever come to see. So people, again, if you are listening and following the story, kindly signify if you want to be a part of this conversation. Share with us what you feel. Let us know what your take is concerning the incident. And for the sake of those that are just joining, let me quickly make a recap on what we've been talking about. The issue is a lady in her 40s got a child from a relationship that never happened. What happened was she used to be a hotel cleaner, and she had gone into for housekeeping. And while at it, she stumbled on a guy's document containing his bank documents, his bank details, showing that he's a millionaire in dollars. Then she took advantage of it, went into his trash, which is garbage, saw a condom used, took the condom, inseminated herself, got pregnant, and voila, presented the young man with a child in court. Went to court, was granted $2 million. The guy was made to pay $2 million for not seeing the young boy, who was at the time 4 years old in 2019, for not seeing it. He was made to pay. So I believe we brought you to speed. So what is your take on it? If you had been in that situation, how would you have responded? How would you have acted? As a wife, as the victim, as even the hotel owners, how would you have responded to that situation? So Shaliwa, we didn't even talk about the part of the hotel management. Like, what would have been their own action to take on the issue?
That's very true. That is a totally different angle altogether. Definitely the management. I'm hoping that the management will have some form of disciplinary action against people who are all out to
violate
a lot of resident stay. So I know that she's no longer a cleaner at the hotel, but at the time the offense was committed, she was a worker at the hotel. So I hope that some form of disciplinary action is meted, out to this woman, just to serve as a deterrent to others who may want to forget others who really would, their role and be professional, really. So it means that if you were asked to do a task, as a worker of the hotel, you put your personal interest first before that of the hotel that pays you your salary. I'm sure it would have also come as a shock to them, because it will put them in the bad light. The name of the hotel wasn't listed in the article that we wrote, but I'm sure it could also be some form of a bad publicity for the hotel, and to customers who may want to lodge at the hotel. So yes, that
just quickly, Shalawa. The moment you even said it now, if they had published the name of the hotel, trust me, the moment I hear the name, anything that has a semblance of that name, trust me, I'm going to flee from it, because I don't know whether it's my it's the swab from my toothbrush that'll be taken and I'll be cloned. Before you know it, I'll be disposed of my identity, because that's even crazy to think about, don't you think?
Yeah.
So it's really, really hilarious, and not just hilarious, it is really, really terrible, the situation that has happened to the young man. So young guys listening to this, what would you say to them? I mean, for the guys that are listening.
I mean, I could only imagine the level of responsibility that you would have to take care of. But I think one just needs to be careful, especially.
I won't be too careful, because
you
he wants to be careful. He wants to be careful. That's why he use protection. And because of using
Yeah.
protection, he got what he did was actually preventing against.
I think just one just needs to be careful with staff and domestic help in general. I think that's where I'm coming from. Because I mean we're talking about a hotel, but even in our homes, we
Yes.
come in contact with uh, security men,
People sometimes, yeah.
workers, nannies, and
Yeah.
a lot of them have access to places that they typically shouldn't have access to. But like you said, maybe someone may be a cleaner and the person comes to clean your house when you are at the office at work. So you can't be too trusting. I think you just always bear at the back of your mind that these people would usually have ulterior motives sometimes because
Yeah.
of how they view you. And
Yeah.
it's a thing in Nigeria, in Lagos, where people just think that you're better off than they are, even if
Yeah.
that weren't true in terms of financial statements or even your status in life. The fact that they
Mm.
have to work for you already puts you in the position where they wish they had your life. So they would
You're right.
always have ulterior motives around you. Not all of them, but a lot of them have that. I mean, we hear stories all the time, just digressing a
Yeah.
bit, of how people
Yeah.
were really nice to their domestic help and staff, and they ended up murdering them, thinking that they could
Yeah.
cut away with some of
Yeah.
the gold and the money that they had. So it just
Yeah.
really goes to show that you need to protect your property, your private property documents, anything
Yeah.
that you think might give them ideas. And then also, they shouldn't just have access to anywhere and everywhere. There should be
Anywhere
some
and
boundaries
everywhere.
put in place to protect yourself. So I think, aside from protecting yourself
Yeah.
in the sense that he did, you also need to just protect your property, because you never really can tell where we get to. So, and what it will be
Very,
used for. So,
very, very well said. Very, very well said. When you were saying it now, I remembered something. I mean, something I heard. Maybe I read it somewhere. I'm not sure. But if it happened in real life, I'm not sure. However, it's worthy of talking about because this is something weird. Now, what happened was a house help, from what you have shared now, a house help, was given the clothes of our boss's husband to tidy. And that, amongst those items, included the young man's boxers, maybe freshly removed boxers. And the course of washing, doing the laundry, she one thing led to the other. She became pregnant. They carried out a test, realized she was pregnant, but along the line, it was discovered that the pregnancy was for the husband through DNA examination. How that came to happen, I cannot tell, except maybe there's a doctor listening to us at the moment and would probably make sense of it. However, when I heard it, it was quite bizarre. And I quite agree with you when you said that one needs to be careful not to have their personal effects thrown around, because there are people that will be looking to climb the social life because they perceive that you're living a lot better than they are. So, Shalewa, we actually have waited so much for Nima to come, so I guess something must have held her back. There's something I'll quickly want to share with those of us that are listening, and it's actually a game, something we hope to share with you in coming segments, live segments. I call it tag. I call it tap code. It is called tap code anyway, because tap code from the stories was created as a result of soldiers captured, U.S. soldiers captured during the Vietnam War. They were prisoners of war. There were 4 of them, I think. And when they were captured, there was no means of communication at all. They were separated and they were placed in different cells, and there was no way they could actually access each other to talk. But in the course of their being separated, I guess they got an opportunity to meet, and one of them taught the others about the tap code. And this is what I want you all to take a look at. I'm about to share it with you on the Telegram while you're listening to us. So remember, if you want to be a part of this whole discussion, kindly signify and let us know what you feel about it. Kindly signify. Let us know what you feel about it. We'll be really glad to hear from you. As you all can see on your screen, that is tap code, and that's the instruction. So before you go through the instruction, I'm going to share with you the information about it very quickly. I mean, while we are having this whole conversation. So, Shaliwa, looking at what has happened, how would you like to employ a house help to come help you with chores when you get married?
An interesting question. But yes, definitely. As someone would like to put it, they are necessary evils. Sometimes these people are necessary evils. I think just as a Christian, a spiritual person, that's just where the place of God's protection comes in. Because yes, you're trying to be careful. Yes, you've taken all the necessary steps, but I mean, there are people who were extra careful as well, and things still happen. So I think most times we're just prayerful and hopeful that their motives will be revealed before they strike. Because that's another thing. We've had domestic helpers, staff, or people who work with you, who start showing some tendencies of rebellion. And for people who understand the psychology of these things, they immediately just let them go. And another issue is, a lot of times, because we're so dependent on their services, that's another thing that we need to learn. You're so dependent on services, and you think even when they show tendencies of misbehavior, you would think that, if I let her go, who would come clean my house? Or if I did this and that. But at the end of the day, you always have to protect yourself first. As they say in local parlance, life not get duplicates. So you always have to think outside of the inconvenience it may cause you to you just protecting yourself. So yes, I would definitely try and get as much help as I can when I get married. But I pray that God just takes control over everything. That's an interesting question.
I really, really do. Although I have never loved the idea of having a house help. I just don't like it. I feel whatever I want to do, I can always do it by myself. And I work that way for years. My father would always say that, look, you're not handicapped. You can always do whatever you want to do. All you need to do is prioritize. I know some may differ, because they'll say, oh, we're now working long hours, or where we're working is quite a journey. We may not be able to come home easily to tend to our church and things like that.
What about when you have a family involved? Because sometimes a lot of people don't even keep house help. People who live with them, live-in workers. Some people come to clean and then leave. So that's also an option. And even at that person still has access to some of your private stuff. But yes, I think at the end of the day, it's about just trying to balance everything out.
For what about those that have the wherewithal to just buy the equipment that can help, that wouldn't cause them such harm? I mean, you have dishwashers, you have even electronic sweeping equipment, and that can tidy your environment. You have washing machine, and these kind of things will not even take your body fluid to inseminate themselves. They're actually going to expel it from the system. So why not consider that as an option than someone that is probably coming with a motive? You're not sure. You don't know what their background is like. You don't know what their reason for coming to work at your place is all about. We've had a series of cases and weird cases too. And I'm sure you also have seen some videos about children that were, manhandled by their nannies and things like that. So for me, I don't think I really want to consider it. I don't think so. I feel I can always work around it. Well, people, back to the game. I don't know if you've all been able to see what we have. You can actually learn from it by playing the following games. I'll be sharing with you in a few. So, just a moment. It's so easy to play. So easy. Tap code, because we're going to be using it on this platform later on. So you don't want to miss it. It's something useful, it's something educating, and remember, you can reach us. Let us know what your take is. Leave a comment. Let us know what you feel about the story of the young man and the child he just received as a gift. So,
Ray is raising his hand. I hope Ray is a
Ray.
guy, by the way. I'm not sure if it's a
Ray is raising his hand. Okay. Ray, you have the floor. Ray, can you hear us? Hello, Ray. Ray, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
sorry,
all right.
I didn't know I had to unmute. Yes, it's
it's
Rachel. Yeah, it's Rachel.
Welcome
It's actually
to the
an interesting. Thank you so much. It's actually an interesting topic, and honestly, I never really knew something like this could actually happen. And then, for a minute, I had to think. This, I don't know, did this happen in this current 21st century, or did it happen before technology came on board? Because I had to think, if it happened in this 21st century, what happened to cameras that could, take a back view or check on what this lady could have done during the time she was in the hotel? And there's no how, even as a guy, if someone comes to meet you and says, "Oh, you are the father of my kid," when it's not like you have short memory, you wouldn't remember the ladies you've slept with, and then this one just comes up like Virgin Mary to say, "Oh, you're the father of my kid." Like, I just feel like the court and the guy himself, I would presume he should be a learned person, could have done some kind of due diligence to say, okay, can we just know how this came about? I've never met this lady before. She comes up saying, "I'm the father." How did I even become the father of our kid? And all of that. And then there is no how you would not want to do a think back. So now probably trace, where did I have loose ends and stuff? Because I just feel like the hotel or the court could have done more to, say, let's probe further. Where do you meet this guy? And let's see. When they keep probing further, I'm sure they'll be able to see loopholes in the stories, and then they'll find out the root cause on how it started, or how she was able to pull that story. That's just what I was thinking about.
Thank you so much for that input, Rachel. The thing is, she actually confessed. She confessed that she did what she did. She inseminated herself. She confessed that she didn't have any. The guy never met with her to do anything. She confessed in the court, which is why this is weird. Or don't you? I'm sure you also read it, Shaliwa. It was a crazy case of she saw. I mean, you can proceed. You can proceed, Shaliwa.
Okay, I'm just responding to yes, Rachel. She did confess about what she did. And I like the point you raised about technology and CCTVs. And I think people install CCTVs, and it will seem as though there's no point of installing, because no one is there manning the cameras and watching it. A lot of times when you read up on cases where there's been a case of theft, then they start playing back the video. So even if they played back the video, I'm sure they would have seen, or they may have seen or may have not seen, because she was cleaning. So she may have just picked up the piece of condom like she were going to trash it or whatever it is. But the thing that it wasn't caught in real time. So all of this is just now relaying a story that happened years ago. And also the place of technology, like you said, Virgin Mary. So it means that somebody could always, take your body fluid and inseminate it. So
Yeah,
it's a crazy story, but unfortunately,
it
it's
is.
real. I
It
like the
is.
point
But
you also raised on his lawyers and how his lawyer wasn't able to defend him well
yeah.
enough, or so we think.
But have you considered something? There was a time, sometime few months back, or maybe was it last year? I'm not sure. Where some people went to a hotel and they saw they noticed there were cameras there capturing everything they were doing, and they ripped it off, and that created a bit of a serious issue on in the media, and so in the society too. Everyone panicked and started thinking, oh, so if they went to an hotel, they definitely would be viewed and they were being documented against their will. So I don't think the idea of having the camera in the bedroom, I don't think many people will buy that idea. Or do you think otherwise, Shaliwa?
That's true. In as much as the hotel might want to have that mechanism in place to be able to, I mean, in cases like this, to be able to tell whether or not a certain incident happened as claimed, is
Yeah,
also, like we said, a breach in privacy for many guests who want to lodge into the hotel. So, and at the end of the day, the customer's interests come first because they are the
true.
ones who patronize you and they really want to have their private moments. So
De- Definitely.
I think
So
at the end of the day, it's just one of those tales that those
mm,
strange but true stories. But there's always something to learn from it.
there is in it. So people, I believe something here. And if you are out there, if you use any protection, please ensure you dispose of your protection yourself and properly. In fact, if possible, wash the protection to ensure that it doesn't even contain a drop or a tiny drop or a tiny usable drop of body fluid that can now come to haunt you and say, oh, you now have a child from God knows where. So, Shaliwa, do you have a final word before we leave?
I think we've had a very extensive conversation. We've explored almost all angles.
Very
So
good.
I think I'll allow you have the final word. But uh, I was happy to be a part of this, and
Thank you so much.
shout out to everyone who joined in. I think because it's our first live broadcast or broadcast, the room seems a little cold. Everyone is
Yeah.
not sure how just to react, respond. But I'm hopeful that
I
in subsequent
one.
series, and yes, exactly, everyone would have gotten a feel of how this works. I just hope everyone had as much fun as we did, and were able to pick
Honest,
up a thing or two.
honestly, I really appreciate that. So, people, in fact, I have had loads of fun and I've been able to learn something from these old incidents. And I believe you as well have learned something. So, people, be careful, stay safe out there. Remember, the COVID is out there and the variant outside is so terrible. We don't want to lose anyone. We would want to always have you here with us. In fact, growing with us stronger into years and decades for time to come. So, do have a pleasant week ahead because the weekend is almost ended. I remain Oluwafunsho Oloja. Still another episode. We will remain within reach, within your pocket. So, goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.